Welcome back to Midco Sports tonight, and it is time to talk some Yote hoops. Joined by Jay Elsen here in studio, and specifically, we're going to talk about the Coyote men right now. Jay, regular season champs a year ago, heartbreaking loss in the Summit League tournament. They get an NIT bid. Postseason is always important, but it's a new season this year. The guys are more experienced, and they are off to a 6-2 start.
Yeah, solid start to be sure, although they feel like they should actually be 7-1. The Coyotes were disappointed with the loss to Northern Colorado last week at the Sanford Pentagon, particularly on the offensive end. They haven't been real consistent that way yet, although Craig Smith is confident that they will get there in time. Defensively, they've been very good over the first month of the season. USD top 30 in the country right now in defensive field goal percentage. That's something Coach Smith always pays attention to. So overall, heading in the right direction, certainly looking like a team that's going to contend for a second straight Summit League title.
Well, and a big reason for their success early on already is their depth. I mean, guys gaining experience from last year. Now they have a lot of guys they can go to. Yeah,
this team has the potential to be even deeper than that one was last year. But that's actually one of Craig Smith's primary focuses right now. He says they need to keep developing that second group of guys, and the best way to do that is play them. Smith says it's his job to figure out how and when to get some of those guys out on the floor. In other words, he needs to trust them. But again, plenty of solid options there. The grad transfer Nick Fuller has been a nice addition. Tyler Peterson looking to follow up a solid freshman year. Dan Jeck has improved, as has Brandon Armstrong. So lots of quality tools for Craig Smith to work with here, Kelly. He's just trying to figure out exactly how he wants to use them all.
Yeah, and that's always a challenge. Lots of guys they can go to, but just a matter of what spot. But with losing Tyler Flack last year, the post position was kind of a question mark coming in. But Tyler Hagedorn is off to an outstanding start this year.
Yeah, talk about a guy who's come a long way. If you remember, Hagedorn was hardly seeing the floor at the beginning of last year, but he got a chance to see some extended minutes when Tyler Flack went down with an injury, and he ran with that chance. And ever since then, Hagedorn's been a different player. And the biggest part of that, I think, is confidence. He's playing like a guy that believes in his abilities, and his numbers certainly reflect it. He's currently second on the team in scoring at 14 per game. He's shooting nearly 50% from the floor, 42% from the perimeter. He's rebounding it better and averaging more than a block a game. He's been an impact guy on both ends of the floor, and if that continues, he's going to be one of the more valuable players in the conference, let alone at South Dakota.
Well, another guy that clearly had a great offseason is Tristan Simpson, just a freshman last year. Never really played like a freshman, but this year you can tell this guy has experience.
Yeah, his progress has been steady, but he's really been that way ever since he arrived at USD. Like you mentioned, it was pretty clear last year that Simpson was a guy the coaching staff trusted, because in crunch time, he was the guy that was running the point. So he got a lot of great experience as a true freshman, invaluable experience, and you always know what you're going to get when number 3 is out on the floor, and that's going to be a guy that plays hard and that plays smart, one that makes good decisions. He's starting to score more consistently this year, averaging about 8.5 per game. That's good enough for third on the team behind Matt Mooney and Hagedorn. His assist-to-turnover ratio better than 2-1. He's playing pretty good defense, and he's doing all of that while playing about 7 minutes more per game so far this year. So I don't think there's a whole lot of concern about any sophomore slump with Tristan Simpson. Seems pretty clear he's trending upward.
Yeah, and you just mentioned it, but Matt Mooney, we can't talk about the Coyotes without talking about him. We know what he's capable of, but off to kind of a hot and cold start this year.
Oh, man, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for him early on. He was outstanding in the second half at Bowling Green and all night against TCU. Since then, though, he's had a couple of off nights, especially against Northern Colorado when he hit just 4 of 21 shots. But I don't think there's any reason to worry here, folks. We've all seen what Matt Mooney can do, and he's going to be just fine. Another thing to keep in mind with him is that his role is going to be a little bit different this year. Unlike last year when he was mostly playing off the ball, he is now playing some point guard. And while he has done that before, both in high school and at Air Force, he hasn't done it before in Craig Smith's system. So it might take a little time for him to reach that level of consistency we saw from a year ago.
And then really quickly, let's touch on Carlton Hurst. Not taking a lot of shots this year, but he is a defensive threat.
He is. And, you know, when you ask Craig Smith about the guys that he's pleased with so far here in the early part of the season, the first guy he mentions is Carlton Hurst. And he calls him one of the best defenders in the Summit League. And he might not blow you away with anything statistically even on that end of the floor, But if your best guy is going out on the floor, Carlton Hurst is going to be manned up with him. You can bet on that one. And he, athletically, he's a kind of a freak. He's a very explosive guy. We've seen him, kind of take flight at different times. So he's a good player. That part of his game's coming around, and the defense is always going to be there when you're talking about Carlton Hurst.
Yeah, he's definitely unselfish, a very team-first guy, and he will have his work cut out for them tomorrow. The Coyotes play at Kansas City, but Saturday, I'm pretty sure he's going to be on Grayson Allen when they take on Duke. But great stuff. Thanks, Jay.
Appreciate it.
Well, you guys stay right here because you just heard about the men's team, but let's give some credit to our South Dakota women's basketball team. Jay and I are going to talk Coyote women's hoops next on Midco Sports Tonight.